Hello, everyone. Good evening. It's ironic. It's a Friday evening, and it's you and I sitting in front of our respective screens and trying to interact and improve our vocabulary. But difficult times call for important steps. And it's important that these 10 days are utilized to the fullest extent. So, what's the agenda in store for us today? The agenda is fairly simple. We are looking at going higher, further, and faster. So, with that agenda in mind, let's try and jump right into the session. And what we want to also look at is an interesting set of questions which kind of mirror what has appeared in the previous year as far as the SBI Clerk Mains English language section is concerned, pertaining to vocabulary in this particular session. Right, so we'll talk about fill in the blanks, we'll talk about closed test, and a lot of variations that came in. And the reference test that we will use for that is basically the Olive Board Mock Test 1 for SBI Clerk Mains. Right, so what I'm going to be telling you today is I'm going to bust a basic myth. Myth number one, it basically says that my English has to be phenomenal if I have to crack any question pertaining to vocabulary. Not so. Vocabulary questions are tricky, but if you know the right approach, these questions can definitely be solved without knowing the exact meaning of the words that you're looking at. That's point number one. Myth number two, it's just 10 days, I cannot dramatically improve my performance in English. Again, not true. If you keep building that momentum till the last day before the examination, the more you read, the more you get acclimatized to reading more and more, you'll find yourself relatively comfortable on the last day before the exam. So there are two options available to you. One, you stick on and you put in those efforts in the next 7 to 10 days, keep reading, keep building that momentum, and on the D-Day, when you sit in the examination, you'll feel a lot more comfortable. Or the other option is, you say, अरे फर्क नहीं पड़ता, doesn't matter, अगर 7 दिन English पढ़ेंगे तो क्या हो जाएगा? It doesn't matter. It doesn't work that way. Because even if you read for these 7 days, it still helps you build some bit of momentum. It still helps you approach the exam in a much better frame of mind than not reading anything at all over the next 7 to 10 days, right? That's the objective. So that's myth number two. कि 10 दिन में कुछ नहीं हो सकता, nothing can happen in 10 days. Everything can change in 10 days. Remember Rahul Tewatia in the IPL this year, he showed to us that within half an hour things can change, but we're not talking about that kind of a dramatical situation, but we're saying that we can change in the next 10 days, right? All it requires is focused effort and dedication, and it can definitely be achieved. So on that note, let's kickstart the session today with an interesting set of questions. So I'll move myself away so that we can now try and focus on the question. Right, so what does it say? It says, in the following passage, some of the words have been highlighted in bold. First, read the passage and try to understand what it is about. Then, replace the highlighted words with the correct option in order to make grammatical and contextual sense. Right? In case the highlighted word is correct as it is, then mark no improvement. So basically, what is required? Look at all those highlighted words and see, out of the given options, any of those options fits in better than the original word given. If the original word itself fits perfectly, then there's no need to change, right? In a way, a variation of your FIB or your closed test only, wherein a particular word has been given instead of a fill in the blank and you need to replace it. That's the logic here. Okay, let's kickstart with the first one. It says, securing highly sensitive information such as hospital records and bank details is a dash challenge faced by many companies, right? So the point is, do I need to read the entire paragraph at one stretch? When it comes to vocabulary, there is something called as your contextual usage, right? So what happens in this case is that all I need to look at mostly is that I can look at the particular sentence, and from the sentence I can basically figure out what that particular word is trying to mean. Now, even if I don't understand the complete meaning, I will be able to figure out whether it is positive or whether it is negative. Even if I can figure out that much, that's good enough, because you don't need to really go beyond that. Coming to the question, it says, is a dash. Now, first things, can I look at some options where I can directly eliminate options, right? So, first of all, when I say is a focus challenge does not sound correct and does not make any sense whatsoever, right? Now, the second thing that I observe here is that it starts off with a, right? So, if it is effort or effect, automatically the article should have been an, right? So automatically what happens? D is not an option, A is not an option. Now I'm left with sergeant and major, right? Now sergeant has been given in the context of confusing us because major refers to an army position, army rank. Similarly, sergeant also refers to an army rank, right? But A sergeant challenge does not make any sense, but major has different meanings. Major also refers to something big or something large. In that context, if I say securing highly sensitive information is a major challenge, right? That's all I was required to do, and that is my correct answer. How much time did this take? Because I was speaking, it took more time, but ideally, this should not take more than 10 seconds, right? So what's the answer here? Option C, which is major. Let us look at the next sentence now. What does it say? It says, standard communication systems are obnoxious to hacks. So generally, when I use the term obnoxious, it usually refers to something which is very offensive or very repulsive, right? That's the context. Let's look at the options here. So what are you trying to say? I am saying that your standard communication systems can happen something to them through a dash, which might lead to hacks, right? Wherein information which was secured, which was encrypted, can be intercepted and copied. Something can happen to it because of which hacking can happen. In this context, obnoxious to hacks again does not fit into the context perfectly, because obnoxious refers to something which is very repulsive. So if I try and look at eliminating options in this case, so let's look at the option wherein it says sodding, right? Sodding basically refers to expressing anger and usually used in the context of a slang. So for example, if I say someone to sod off, then I'm basically asking them to go away or to depart. So that's the context. Now, was it required that I know the meaning of this particular word? So generally when I say sodding to, right? So if I say standard communication systems are sodding to hacks, so it does not make much of a sense in that context. So this doesn't look to be my answer. Right. Now, nature is something which is positive. When I say denature, there is some kind of a negative element being added to it. Right. But will it fit here? So if I have to use it here, I'll probably have to say that standard communication systems are getting denatured rather than saying denatured to hacks. Right. So again, this doesn't appear to be the correct option. Now, what do I mean by virulent? Even if you don't know, virulent sort of looks like something like viral fever, right? So basically something which is negative, something which is poisonous or lethal. Virulent to hacks doesn't make much sense because it's talking about being poisonous. So this also doesn't look to be my answer, right? So when I say vulnerable, it basically refers to a situation wherein you are susceptible, right? You are in a sort of a weak spot, right? And you can be attacked, right? So whenever I say vulnerable to, that's the context in which this particular word gets used. So I'm vulnerable to attacks, I'm vulnerable to viral fever, so on and so forth, right? So it fits in perfectly in the context of this particular statement wherein I say vulnerable to hacks, and that indeed will be my answer. Now, why didn't I choose any of the other options? Because one, A fits perfectly, and secondly, sodding to does not make sense. Getting denatured makes more sense than denatured to, right? And then I talk about virulent and obnoxious have a kind of a similar touch, you can say. So obnoxious is also a negative word and virulent is also a negative word. So that's the context here. So that's why in this case, you'll find that your option A is actually the answer. Right. Now let's quickly move on to the next question. Before we do that, another important aspect which I want to highlight is whenever you're deriving or let's say finding out the meaning of a particular word, just make sure that you understand that meaning. Let's say if I pick out a word virulent, right? And I figured that it has to do something with negativity, poisonous, lethal, then I can compare it with, let's say, a word like viral, right? And I remember viral fever, so I'll remember virulent, right? It doesn't mean that anything that starts off with VIR will always be negative. I have to look at the word root and from the word root arrive at the meaning and the possible combinations, right? So virulent, viral fits very well, right? Similarly, obnoxious, noxious, right, have kind of a negative connotation and a negative meaning, but does not mean that every time there is something called as noxious in a particular word, it will always be negative. So basically, root and what are the words that can be derived from that root, right? That is the combination that you've got to look at. So if I say VIR, not always negative, but in the context of let's say viral, if I say virulent, then I know these words which are starting with VIR and also have a negative connotation. So that's the approach that you need to take. Okay, let's move further. So what does it say here? It says that it is currently possible for hackers to make a copy of transmitted information, but it would not be possible to read it without a method of breaking the encryption that reticent it. Right. So reticent as a word generally refers to someone who doesn't talk too much or is like very, very secluded and will not open up much. Right. That's the context of reticent, but doesn't fit in this particular context for sure. So if you look at this part of the sentence carefully, it says it would not be possible to read it without a method of breaking the encryption that dash it. Right. So it is referring to a particular element which is in singular. What is it here? It is referring to the information, right? So I cannot read the information without a method of breaking the encryption that dashes the information. So the it here again refers to information. So this is singular. So obviously my answer cannot be plural, right? So which means pallor and coy, even if I don't know the meaning, go out of the window automatically. So I'm left with tests and protects, right? Now the next element is tests is basically a neutral word and protects is a positive word. Which one is required here? It says it will not be possible to read it without a method of breaking the encryption. So if you're saying breaking the encryption, यानी कि encryption को तोड़ना पड़ेगा. I have to break the encryption, right? If I am breaking the encryption, there is something that is saving it. So there has to be a positive word that needs to come here. And which is that positive word? Protects. So test will not fit in this context. Now, I solved this without really knowing the meaning of any of these words here. And that's exactly the reason why reticent also will not fit into the context, because technically reticent will basically work as a adjective, or maybe looking at it as a noun. It will not work in the context of a verb. There are multiple ways in which you can look at solving questions pertaining to vocabulary without necessarily knowing the words, right? One approach could be to use grammar, wherein you look at subject-verb agreement, right? That combination, right? And second possibility is if the words are given in different tenses, then looking at the tense of the sentence, I can figure out whether that particular word can fit in or not. And the third thing that we've observed so far is basically the use of a and an just before the word. So it basically tells us whether a vowel will be the starting alphabet for that particular word or not, right? Something like that is also there. And another important aspect is, what is the word that is required in that particular place? Do you think it's supposed to be a noun? Is it supposed to be an adjective? Is it supposed to be an adverb? Is it supposed to be a verb? And based on that, I'll figure out whether any of the words given in the options fit in that particular context, right? So that's the approach that you can take in solving questions. Now, don't worry about either coy or pallor because they don't fit into the context anyway. But generally, if I want to understand, coy basically refers to a very shy nature, very demure kind of a person, right? So that's the context. So that is for coy. Now, if I talk about pallor, pallor refers to basically a sense of colorlessness, right? So that's the context in which pallor generally gets used. So maybe could be a sign of sickness or weakness or so on, right? So the answer to C is basically protects. Now let's move on to the next question. Now, okay, if I look at this one, it says this means that information might be secure for a period of time, but there is no guarantee that it would be secure forever, as supercomputers in development could potentially dash particular encryptions in the future. So what am I looking at here? You're saying that supercomputers could potentially means in all probability or in all likelihood, conduct particular encryptions. Does not fit into the context. Conducting means what? You conduct a seminar, you conduct an online session, but you don't conduct encryptions. Doesn't fit in, right? But there is something that the supercomputers can do to encryptions. So whenever something is encrypted, encrypt का मतलब क्या होता है? It basically comes from crypt. Crypt means sign language, right? So you have words like cryptology, cryptography, encrypt. Encrypt means bringing it into a cryptic format, right? And decrypt means what? Converting it from a cryptic format to an ordinary format, right? So supercomputers should ideally do something which can basically remove those encryptions, right? How do I remove those encryptions? If I can understand that particular code, right? So I need to get that particular word which is telling me that supercomputers can understand and break that code. That's the context here. Now, if I talk about incidence basically talks about a particular occurrence. So again, it's a neutral word, does not fit into this context. Now, what do I mean by malformation? So generally, whenever I have this particular combination, mal, it generally refers to something which is negative, right? So just a disclaimer here, male also has MAL, does not mean that male is negative. I go from the root to the words that can get formed. I will not break that word and say कि boss जिस भी word में mal लिखा हुआ है उसमें से mal को निकालेंगे and I'll say that that word is negative. No, जहाँ पे भी मेरे पास word है, wherever I have a particular word and I know that mal works in a negative context over there, that's the way in which I will approach this, right? So similarly, malformation has a negative context which says that some kind of formation is there which is negative, not the ideal one, maybe a mutation or something of that sort. That's the context in which malformation has been used, which is a negative term, doesn't fit in this particular case. If I again look at evidence is basically proof, right? So again, proof is a neutral word, doesn't fit in. So only word which technically fits in this particular context is decipher, which basically says that you're breaking that particular encryption. So what do I mean by decipher? Decipher is to understand that sign language or understand that communication. So that is what decipher means. So by way of elimination, I would have eliminated malformation because that is negative. Doesn't fit into the context of this particular blank. If you look at it further, I'm basically looking for a verb over here, right? So the context is when I say potentially malformation, it again does not make sense. Potentially evidence does not make sense. Potentially incidence does not make sense. And I know that potentially conduct in the context of supercomputers does not make sense because I want a word which has to be related to breaking the encryptions, right? So obviously no improvement is also not the answer. So even if you did not know decipher, you will still be able to figure out by elimination that decipher will be the answer, right? So that's the context in this particular case. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. What does it say next? Researchers investigated a prototype based on the principles of quantum mechanics that has the potential to sidestep the vulnerabilities of current communications, but also allow information to be secure in the future. Right. So if I look at it, seems like this kind of fits in perfectly in any case. Right. So researchers investigated a prototype based on the principles of whatever that has the potential to sidestep or avoid the vulnerabilities. See, the word vulnerability is already given here and it fit into the context in one of the earlier options as well, right? Vulnerabilities of current communications, but also allow information to be secure in the future. So I don't see any improvement, but I'll anyway look at all my options. So I need a neutral word here because we're talking about information only. So this fits in perfectly, right? So by default, I know that my answer here is no improvement, but I look at the other words also, right? It says fading means something which is reducing. You definitely be aware of this particular word, reducing in intensity, right? Fleeting, flitting, ephemeral, all of these tend to mean something which is temporal or temporary, right? So in the context of something which is slightly negative, right? Each of these words is slightly negative in that connotation and doesn't fit into the context of what we are trying to solve over here, right? So from that perspective, all of these options can be eliminated. And my correct answer in this case will be option E. Okay, let's move further. Now, what does it say? Such an attack is powerful because a given device works corrupting to its technical specifications, right? कोई भी चीज अपने हिसाब से काम करेगी. That's what it's saying. Given device works dash to its technical specifications, right? Any device will work exactly as per the technical specifications. So I need a word which kind of resembles exactly over here, right? So obviously norming does not fit into the context. Norming to does not make sense. Adjoining to again does not make sense. According to, yes, perfect sense, right? And works in convention to would probably have still been okay, but I don't have in over here, right? Doesn't make sense. So it basically says given device works. Convention to does not make sense. Again, convention is basically what? Something which is conventional or the correct way or maybe the way in which things have happened in the past, right? That's what conventional tends to mean. If you see, it doesn't fit in that context either, right? So the only option that fits perfectly is basically according to, right? And that indeed will be my answer. Now when I say adjourning basically is used in the context of law or legal terms wherein you say that the court is adjourned for the day. Aaj ke liye agri tarikh de di, right? So the context is it's been stopped temporarily or let's say it's been adjourned. Similarly, when you talk about norming, norm is basically what? It's again like a convention, something which is supposed to happen in a particular way. Now the word norming is basically used in the context of HR parlance. Talk about norming, forming, performing and storming, right? So in this particular case, you know that corrupting to does not fit in, right? Similarly, adjourning to, norming to and convention to do not fit in. So the only word which fits in is according to its technical specifications, and that indeed will be my answer. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now here it says that somewhere between the sender and the receiver, the communication was actual more secure. Now it's basically talking about secure, right? So secure is the adjective here. More basically explains more about secure. And this particular word is supposed to explain more about more secure. That's the context, right? So actually more secure would have made perfect sense, right? But if I look at my options here, undeniably more secure makes sense. Deny ka matlab avoiding something, right? Or refusing something. Undeniably opposite of deny, which means definitely more secure. Again, genuine is something positive. So I need a word which is positive here, right? So when I say far here, far as a combination with more becomes a positive connotation. Undeniably more is also positive. Genuinely more is also positive, right? So actual will not fit. It should have been actually, because it has been used in the context of an adverb over here, right? So actually would have made more sense. But since that's not the case, no improvement will be eliminated. And since all of A, B, and C are correct, option D becomes my final answer. If you look at this particular paragraph that we discussed, right, each of these would have probably taken you 10 to 15 seconds to read the sentence and figure out the options, right? Except for that one question wherein you looked at virulent and that particular combination. None of the questions were such that you required a prior knowledge or understanding of those words to be able to figure out which of the words will fit in the answer, right? We proved that right now, right? So you could have got the majority of these questions correctly by just looking at methodologies of solving such questions, right? So that's the whole idea. Important thing for you to remember is look at common sense and ways in which you can eliminate options. A knowledge of that word can help. If it is not there, it won't harm you either, right? That's the context. Okay, so let's move to the next set now. Okay, what does it say? It says in the following question, a small paragraph is given from which 5 words have been omitted. So this is the conventional FIBs that you're looking at, but with a slight twist or a slight variation. Now these words represented by a letter, right, are given below the paragraph. So these are the words that have been given to you separately over here in a random order. So you need to ensure that the order is correct, right? Rearrange these words in an appropriate order so that these fit the blanks and give out the grammatically and meaningfully coherent paragraph. The approach in this kind of questions is look at the options, which is the most number of repetitions as far as the first blank is concerned, B. So let's try out option B, whether it fits in here. It says our dash fear of missing out is a syndrome that haunts us in the modern era, right? So our inherent fear, मतलब पहले से अंदर है, something which is already inside, that is inherent, right? That's the context. So inherent, again think of it as in or inside, that's the context. So it is inside us already. So B fits in perfectly. There is no contextual meaning to match fear, right? Our match fear does not make any sense. Our forces fear again does not make any sense. So obviously these two options are eliminated. So your starting option is definitely option B. So move on further. What does it say? Social media perhaps is the biggest culprit, right? Now, what do I do for the portion in between, right? Should I read it? Should I not read it? So ideally, it's okay if you skip that also, right? Because anyway, the contextual meaning of the word can be derived from the sentence itself. Now, even if after reading that particular sentence, for example, in this particular second blank, I need to read from this particular portion, social media, till lives. Now, even if I'm not able to figure out within this, I can then go back to reading the earlier sentence to get some clue, right? But by default, I don't have to read this sentence because there is no blank over here, right? That's the logic with which you should ideally approach. हाँ, अगर उस sentence में कुछ मिल नहीं रहा है clue, then I have to go back to this particular sentence, right? But if I get the clue within the sentence itself, I don't have to read this particular sentence. That way you can save some more time. Now, what does it say? Social media is perhaps the biggest culprit as it often, again, it is it. That's the subject verb agreement element here, right? So, only word which fits into that context here is forces, because social media forces you. Urges hona chahiye tha ya fir. So, urges is not there. So, this is not the option. Matches is not there. Inherent would basically work as an adverb, so it doesn't fit in. Again, displaying you, obviously social media is not displaying you, so this option is also out. So the only option that fits in case of this is option D. Now, which is the only option which gives me option B to start with and option B as the second? This is the answer, right? Now, if you want, we've already found out the answer to be BD. If you want, you can just in case cross-check with other sentences or other blanks also, right? But this is an activity which you should ideally do only when you feel that there is a need to do it. If you're fairly confident that BD is correct and there is no other option which starts with BD, just mark A and move on. Don't waste any more time, right? But if you still feel that I need to cross check maybe one or two blanks more, then let's look at that as well, right? Now, it often forces you to compare yourself to others who are displaying the most wonderful aspects of their lives. He says it can make you think inward and develop an unhealthy urge to constantly change yourself to match your own experiences. So fits perfectly. So I don't have to worry. But what I did here is I ended up wasting another 15 seconds wherein I could have just got ahead by looking at the first blank and the second blank, right? So you got to try and maximize your saving of time. That's very, very crucial. Okay. You can mark that option to cross check if you have time left later, right? So that's the approach that you should ideally take. So the answer in this case is option A. Now let's move on to the second question of this particular type. What does it say? It says e-commerce in India has dash phenomenal growth over the years, right? Obviously has to show something like has shown phenomenal growth or viewed phenomenal growth or seen phenomenal growth. Those are the words that will fit in, and that's the option that fits perfectly. So if I start with C, I have eliminated 3 of the options, right? Now if I just check for the second blank, I'm done. So what does it say? From 39 billion in 2017, it is projected to, obviously it is a lower number and it is going to a higher number. So obviously it is projected to rise. Now it can also be said that it is projected to grow, but here it is not grow, it is growth. So it doesn't fit in this context, right? So rise fits perfectly. So the option which fits the bill for me is CB and then blah, 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 right? So which is the option here? CB and then blah, blah, blah. If you want to cross check, you can just quickly read through AED as well, right? But ideally, I'm done with this particular question, right? Now there has been a steady rise, okay, and then I say the liberal FDI policy where 100% business to business transactions are allowed is also fueling the growth of this market. Perfect, fits into the context. But as I said, once I found out C and B, I will not waste any more time on this particular question. So what's the strategy that we saw in this pattern? Fairly simple. I go by the options. There are 2 approaches. If I find that one particular option, like in the first question, I had B repeated multiple number of times as the first answer, right? So I check for B in the first blank. If it fits, then all the other options by default get eliminated and I'll probably have to check one more blank and I'll be done with it. The second approach is I decide to start off with, let's say, one of the blanks, right? Ideally, it could be the first blank or the second blank, whichever one fits the bill perfectly. If you're able to identify one of those blanks, then it just boils down to identifying one more blank and you're done, right? That's the approach that you've got to take. And all the concepts that we applied in the previous type of question pattern are applicable here as well. When you talk about your grammar, you talk about your subject verb agreement, tenses, everything can be applied in this pattern as well. So the answer in this case comes out to be CB, AED again. Let's move on to the next pattern now. What does it say? In the question given below, 2 sentences are given with 1 blank each. From the given answer choices, choose the option which has the correct combination of words fitting both the sentences, right? So here the variation is this word needs to fit in both these particular sentences, right? So what does it say? 2 more US Republican senators have announced their opposition to the party's efforts to revamp Obamacare, okay? Dash the controversial legislation in its current form and potentially dealing a monumental setback. Obviously, it's a negative term because you're doing something to the legislation to revamp Obamacare, right? Which will deal a monumental setback, again a negative word, to President Donald Trump, right? Kuch to aap negative kar rahe ho, you're doing something negative, right? So that cannot be conceptualizing because it is relevant to building a concept. It refers to building an institution. So these are again neutral words or maybe positive words, doesn't fit in. So when I say moot, this is a moot point. It basically says that I'm thinking about something, right? So that again does not fit into the context, very neutral, right? So only thing that can fit in is derailing. Even if you don't know derailing, rail ka matlab kya hai? Rail is basically patri. Rail is a track, right? If I derail something, I'm taking it away from the rail. So it's a negative connotation. So that's the word that fits in perfectly over here. Derailing is my answer. All I need to do now is to check whether it fits into the second blank also. Now life has a natural way of dash even the best laid plans, right? So we also had some best laid plans for 2020. Life had a way of derailing the best laid plan. So again, derailing fits here as well perfectly. So again, did not really require to think too much. All I had to look at it was the connotation, whether I need a negative connotation word or a positive connotation word. Since I required a negative connotation word in this case, only option which was negative is option B, and that will be my answer. Okay, let's move on to the next question now. What does it say? It says a few things need to be spelled to have a clearer understanding of the situation created by China on the Doklam Plateau in view of the propaganda barrage from Beijing to portray itself as a victim of India's dash, right? So when you're portraying someone as a victim of India's dash, so technically this word should ideally be in a negative connotation, right? Now, if I look at this, as a representative and protector of public interests, the government shoulders multiple public responsibilities in clearing up dash. So again, when I'm talking about clearing up, I'm talking about something which is negative, only that can be cleared up, right? And something which is negative, you can be a victim of that only, right? So obviously it cannot be integrity, which is a positive word for sure. It cannot be C. Even if I don't know the meaning of C, I know the fact that ideally it should have been indictment as a noun, right? Victim of India's dash, right? So it's referring to India ka kuch. Technically, I should have a noun over here, right? So in this case, indictment might have fitted into the context, but indict will not fit into the context, right? So I'm basically left with India's convalescence and India's high-handedness. It cannot be all of the above, but this is one question wherein you'd probably have to figure out between convalescence and high-handedness, which of the two fit into the context. Assume I don't know the meaning of convalescence, right? But I do know that high-handedness refers to, so technically if I take the literal meaning also, it tends to mean that you're doing things in a manner which is derogatory. It basically says that you're dominating or you're being too autocratic in your approach. That's what high-handedness means, right? So basis that, I can still sense that high-handedness fits perfectly, right? So there is a way in which I can probably look at taking a punt in this case and say that high-handedness will indeed be my answer. If I already know the meaning of convalescence, then I know by default that high-handedness will be indeed the answer, because convalescence basically refers to a situation where you're recuperating from something or recovering from something, right? So you cannot be a victim of someone's recuperation or a victim of someone's recovery. So it doesn't make much sense because it's a slightly positive word. So it again does not fit into the context correctly, right? So high-handedness fits perfectly. So yes, I can say that this was definitely a question wherein you could probably say that I have to narrow down between two options, but it is still giving you significantly better odds as compared to not knowing anything, right? So you've eliminated three options, you narrowed down to two options, and within the two, you're taking a bit of a gamble. For those of you who already know convalescence, would obviously know that high-handedness will definitely be the answer, because that's more a recuperating or a recovering kind of a word, which is not a negative context, right? So you would be definitely sure. For those who did not know convalescence, in that case, it's a bit of a risk, and that's a chance that you need to decide based on intuition at that particular time in the exam, whether you should take that risk or not, right? So that's something which you will have to decide. Having said that, I mean, the odds are still 50-50. So there is still a very high chance that you might actually get it right. Now let's move on to the next pattern. So if you look at this one, it says in the following question, a sentence with a blank is given. 3 idioms and phrases are given below the sentence. Identify the idioms of phrase which can fit the blank and choose your response accordingly. Now, she really dash with her innovative approach to this notification system. Several companies have since adopted her method, right? So she has done something which has allowed her method to be adopted by different companies. So she has definitely done something positive, right? Now, which of these tell that it's a positive, right? Broke down, either your car broke down or you as a person broke down. So let's say if your car broke down, it's not functional. If you as a person broke down, then you're crying. So it doesn't fit into this context. It's a negative connotation. So I know for a fact that it cannot be broke down. Let's look at broke the mold. Mold kya hai? Mold is basically some kind of a container or a dish, right? And if you've broken the mold, that means you've done something different. You've done something innovative, right? That's what it means. So mold is definitely positive and fits the context perfectly. So I know that 3 definitely has to be an option. Now it cannot be 1 and 3. So I'm left with only 2 possibilities, which is 2 and 3 alone. Now, even if I don't know what took after means, The problem that I have is it says took after with. So while this is a phrasal verb, and you can say that, yeah, after has not necessarily been used as a preposition, so yes, with can be used as a preposition, but somehow it doesn't sound correct. She really took after with, right? Doesn't make sense. It could have probably been okay if you had just said she really took after her innovative approach, but even then it doesn't make sense, because took after generally refers to you behaving like someone else or acting like someone else, right? So for example, I say that she takes after her father, means she's behaving just like her father. That's the connotation, right? So even if I did not know that, after and with does not sound correct to me, right? Which is why I'll probably eliminate option 2 and 3 as well. So the only option that fits the context is only option number 3, which is indeed my answer. Okay. Chalo, let's look at the next set of questions now. What does it say? Which of the following words, phrases in 1, 2, and 3 given below each sentence should replace the blank to make the sentence grammatically correct? Choose the option which reflects the correct usage both contextually as well as grammatically. Right, so what do I do here? It says by 1860, enslaved people were the foundation of the American economy, more dash than all the capital invested in manufacturing, railroads, and banks combined. Right, enslaved people were the foundation of the American economy means definitely something very positive, right? So it cannot be cheaper, so this option is eliminated. So all the options which carry 3 are by default eliminated. Now if I look at precious and valuable, both of them fit the context because both of them are positive words, and my answer will obviously be option 1. Right? Let's move on to the next question. It was not until the 1990s that the Indian state dash the potential of Bollywood as a cultural commodity with a global appeal. So while I say cultural commodity is something which is quite common, right? Like a product, right? But I'm saying cultural commodity and global appeal. So it's slightly more positive. So I'm recognizing the potential or the ability of Bollywood, right? That's the context here. So if I'm recognizing the ability of Bollywood, it has to be in the positive connotation. So SLEP 2 would technically mean you're ignoring it, right? And in any way, it's a negative connotation, so it does not fit, right? In either way, it cannot be both 2 and 3 because both 2 and 3 mean opposite things. Slept 2 or woke up 2, right? So it's either 2 or 3, and because 2 is negative and 3 is positive, so obviously it has to be 3. So any option which carries 2 by default gets eliminated, right? Now, also look at option 1. It also says recognize the potential, right? Which means you realize that it has potential and you recognized it, you noticed it. That's the context. So again, technically, this one will also fit in this particular context. So the options which fit the bill are 1 and 3, and those indeed will be my answers. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Okay, it says, little Lekha could not speak till she was 5, and when at last she learnt to speak, she dash. So all of these are in the past tense, so they fit perfectly, right? So stammered is actually the word which is used in the context of not being able to speak properly. So that is one thing which you know for sure. But if I know even in the near about meaning, I know that faltered is negative, I know that stammered is negative, I know that stumbled is also looked in the negative context. So all of these refer to getting stuck in some way or the other, right? So faltered again can be looked at if you remember fault. Fault is a negative connotation. So think of fault and then think of faltered. It's again used in the negative context. So each of these 3 words can be used in the context of not being able to do things in a very seamless manner. That's the word that I'm looking at. Seamless, right? Okay, without getting stuck, right? But someone who's not spoken for 5 years, if that person is speaking for the first time, that person will definitely get stuck in some way or the other, right? Which is where faltered, stammered, and stumbled, all 3 of these fit perfectly. All of them are in the correct tense also. We're talking about past tense here. All of them are in the correct tense, and all of them refer to being stuck in some way. So as a result, all of these 3 will be my answer. Okay. So how did you like it? Was it tough? Not that tough, right? Can be managed. So can I say that it's easy to break myth number 1, which says that basically English language proficiency is not that big a deal when it comes to cracking vocab questions. Yes, some questions will be difficult and you may not be able to figure out anything, but the big part of vocab is either you know it or you don't know it, right? You just can move on. So it doesn't waste too much of time for you. The second point is, as we said, breaking myth number 1, which is vocabulary questions can still be cracked even if you don't have a very, very strong English, right? That's the whole point that we were trying to discuss, and that's what we've tried to prove in this particular session as well. So let's try and quickly summarize what we have done today. We've basically looked at essentially 4 different question types. So the first pattern that we essentially saw was your one para, which had your multiple words available which had to be replaced. It was not exactly a fill in the blank, and for each of those word replacements you were given multiple options, right? So if you look at that particular pattern, technically 1 or maybe 2 of those questions were ones which were not that easy, right? Wherein you probably had to have some basic understanding of those words, but rest of those 5 questions were definitely doable. But even then, I'm basically keeping a buffer of maybe solving 4 to 5 questions in that. Now looking at the second pattern, so you had one particular paragraph and there were multiple blanks, and you also were given words in a particular sequence. You had to identify the correct sequence of the blanks. Now this was definitely a short set of questions which ideally I feel that you should have been able to do. Even if you were able to figure out 2 of those, you would have been able to solve other options quite easily, right? So it was purely elimination, and both of these questions could have definitely been attempted. So again, 2 marks in the bag. Now if you move on to the third pattern, 2 mini paragraphs, and when I say 2 mini paragraphs, I'm talking about 2 sentences essentially, and you had one blank each in each of those mini paragraphs, and technically both those blanks were to be filled by the same word. If convalescence was a word that you were not aware of, then one of those questions was not that easy, but still could have been solved by elimination. But I'm discounting for that question. You could have still done 1 out of 2, right? Definitely doable in that as well. Now moving on to the fourth pattern that we discussed today, you basically had 1 mini para, and there were, let's say, combination of multiple options which would fit in one particular blank, wherein more than one options could have fitted into that particular blank. Now in this, while 2 of these questions are fairly straightforward and doable very easily without too much understanding and too much knowledge, I would still feel that you could have done 3 as well, right? And if you obviously had reasonably good enough knowledge, you could have done 4 out of 4. So the context is, I'm still taking 2 to 3 questions to have been easily attempted in this as well. Now look at the beauty of the amount of time this could have taken. If I split down the timings as well, while I've given you 20 to 30 seconds for the first question, which has a long para format, so 20 to 30 seconds, ideally it should not take that much time, could have been solved earlier as well. For the next set, fairly doable, under 15 to 20 seconds. And the next one with those 2 mini paragraphs was again not that complicated, so again another 15 to 20 seconds, and same is the case with the last set of 4 questions as well. So if you add up these times, it would still be less than, let's say, 6 to 7 minutes overall, right? And within those 6 to 7 minutes, you're easily able to secure somewhere between 10 to 12 marks quite easily. So if you ask me, it's a very good return on investment kind of a strategy, wherein the time consumed is less, but the number of questions you're able to attempt is significantly higher, and you can also get good marks here as well. So that's the overall strategy. Now coming to the basic elements of what we discussed in terms of why vocabulary itself is not required to solve many of these questions, you can look at the multiple things that we discussed, right? So we looked at the presence of an article just before a particular word, a or an, that gives you a clue. The tenses of those particular words also gives you a clue. Then you talk about whether the word is actually a noun or a verb or an adverb or an adjective. That can also help you eliminate a lot of options. The next thing we discussed was the subject and verb agreement, wherein we said that if the subject is singular, your blank also has to be singular. If the subject is plural, the blank also needs to be plural, and it can be used to eliminate multiple options in that sense as well. And last but not least, important aspect that we discussed was depending on the context of the sentence, we can also figure out whether the tone is positive or negative, which will give us an indication in terms of the blank that I need to fill, whether that particular word needs to be positive or negative. Even if I can figure out from my options if the word is positive or negative without knowing the complete exact meaning, I can still solve the question. So these are some of the methodologies that can be incorporated to solve your questions around vocabulary without actually knowing the meaning of the word. Obviously, if you know the meaning of the word, fantastic. But if you still don't, this is not a section that you have to just run away, right? You can still attempt these questions and a fairly good return on time invested, what I call it as roti, but at the same time, get good marks out of this as well. Just don't neglect this particular section, keep practicing some more, and you'll be able to get a lot of good value for your time. Right? That's the whole idea as far as this particular session was concerned, to give you a flavor of the kind of questions that could possibly appear as far as the vocab, FIBs and closed test context is concerned in the SBI Clerk Mains exam. So the thought that I'm going to leave you with is essentially tell you three categories of people. First are your pessimists, who are basically negative about everything. Everything that's happening in their life is actually wrong. Nothing is going right. Those are the kind of problems that they have. Even if they get the best of facilities, they still think negative. The second category is everything that's happening with me is positive, or everything that's going to happen to me is positive. Everything will be fine. Everything will be fine. These are your optimists. But there's a third category. These are basically who I call the realists. Why they call realists? Because they are real. They are not in the hypothetical world of negative thinking, and they are not fully occupied in the world of positive thinking either. What they say is, this is the opportunity coming to me and I need to make the most out of this particular opportunity. So the pessimists keep worrying that the wind is not in my direction. The optimists keep thinking that the wind will eventually change in my direction. But the realists do not bother about the direction of the wind. They just decide to change the direction of the sails, so that whichever direction the wind may be, the sail will ensure that the wind is in their favor. And that's what realists do. Irrespective of whatever situation, irrespective of the difficulties, irrespective of the challenges, they will ensure that they put their best foot forward, adjust their sails, which in this case is nothing but your preparation, your hard work, and your self-belief. And if you adjust these sails, whatever be the direction of the wind, you will succeed. Right? So most importantly, keep practicing, give your absolute best shot. These are unprecedented times. This has never happened before. 2020 is a landmark year in a lot of negative things that have happened around us, right? But all this is experience. You're gaining from this process. And there will be time in the future when you'll probably laugh on this period and say that I lived through 2020. I survived 2020 and I came out successfully out of 2020, right? So yes, these are challenging times, these are testing times, but we will ensure that we have that self-belief, we have that faith, and we keep pushing ourselves forward just like realists do. Not bothering about the direction of the wind, but we will ensure that we change the wind in our favor. So on that note, wishing you a fantastic weekend ahead. Keep studying, keep working hard, and I look forward to seeing you in the next session, wherein we'll focus on parajumbles and the variants around that. So until then, happy studying. Keep working hard. Remember, all of you are realists. The wind will be changed by us in our favor.